It's another TSN Sports exclusive. Stay tuned for live action from the Canadian Football League next. Real TV on TSN.
Put another log on the fire. We're at chilly Taylor Field in Regina, where tonight Dave Ritchie has more than the Saskatchewan Roughriders to worry about. A number of his players, including John Volpe, are under the weather with the flu. But the weather suits the Saskatchewan Roughriders and Don Matthews just fine. They're aiming for a playoff game here in November. So buckle up and bundle up. Saskatchewan and BC are next. Dave Ritchie was brought in specifically to improve the Lions' defense. And the BCT is led by a man named OJ. OJ Brigance is the CFL's co-leader in sacks, a man who conducts weekly search and destroy missions on the CFL's most elusive targets.
Our main focus is going to be shutting down Elgard and Fairholm, and if we can do that and then put more pressure on Ken Austin, I think that we're going to have a good and productive day.
Saskatchewan quarterback Ken Austin has a great way of avoiding the rush. He has the CFL's quickest release. By the time many defenders are close to him, the ball is well downfield. It's a style that's well suited to Saskatchewan's offense and the prairie conditions it plays in.
Well, we have to run the ball a bit better this week. You know, losing Mike Saunders last week in the first series hurt our running game, and we want to be able to stay on the field a little bit longer.
Tonight, Texas native OJ Brigance is heading for Austin on the CFL Live. The CFL Live on TSN is brought to you by Pepsi. Be young, have fun, drink Pepsi. And by Mark's Work Warehouse, closed at work. It's beginning to feel a lot like football on the prairies. 3 degrees, the wind gusting to 28 kilometers an hour, and yes, there's even snow in the area as the BC Lions visit the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Hi, welcome to Regina's Taylor Field. I'm Gord Miller. These two teams are even for second place in the standings, and their season series is tied as well. The winner tonight takes a 2-point lead, but by winning the season series, it's in effect a 4-point lead. That's the difference between a playoff game at Taylor Field or BC Place in November, and that's a major difference. Here's John Wells.
Gord Rider coach Don Matthews is downplaying the importance of this game, but the fact is second place is on the line tonight. He may want to keep some of the pressure off his players, but they know exactly what's at stake, and they know this is the most important game of their season.
Well, you better believe that they know what this game means to their season, John. You know, pro sport becomes such a game of psychological advantage, and who has it? For tonight's winner, a firm grasp on second place, possible home field advantage of the playoffs, and yes, the psychological advantage that goes along with it. You know, for the BC Lions, to lose 2 games in a row is bad, but to lose 2 games in a row to the Saskatchewan Roughriders is even worse. So for a team that's had a pretty nice season so far, this obviously is the most critical game that they've played all year.
The Riders are coming into this one, Leaf, on a 2-game win streak. They are always tough at Taylor Field. They have only lost once here all season. From Regina, this is CFL Live. And welcome back to Taylor Field in Regina. The Lions seek their revenge in a rematch from Sunday in Vancouver. Leif, what do you see as the difference in this one tonight?
Well, John, I think for the BC Lions, having John Volpe back really could be the difference in the game tonight. Can he run effectively against the Saskatchewan Roughriders? This has been a part of their offense that has been missing since Volpe has been out. Only played in partially in 2 games, and if he can run the ball tonight, take some of the pressure off Danny McMaris and Danny Barrett, I think that could be the difference in this game.
Tonight's starting lineups brought to you by Speedy Auto Glass. Don't take a chance. Take your auto glass repairs and replacement to Speedy Auto Glass. A little nippy at Taylor Field tonight. We're ready for the opening kickoff. Dave Ridgway is kicking into a rather stiff breeze. Darren Flutie and Lonnie Turner are deep for the British Columbia Lions, and the ball blows off the kicking tee, so Ridgway makes that adjustment. This is Darren Flutie across the 35 and stopped near the 40-yard line. Benson Donaldson leading the Saskatchewan tacklers. Quarterback Danny Barrett has the flu, so ex-Winnipegger Danny McManus will get the start at quarterback for the Lions here tonight. And tonight, he has John Volpe back in the BC backfield, along with Sean Millington. Ray Alexander is back to lead the receiving corps with Clark Trevathan and Darren Flutie.
And a veteran offensive line that you would think would be the cornerstone of this team, but last week in their game against Saskatchewan, they gave up 5 sacks, so they are going to have to improve their play tonight.
And the Lions with McManus at the controls begin at the 41. Good start for John Volpe. He has 5 yards, stopped by Bobby Jurison at the 46-yard line. The Riders are loaded with veterans up front on defense. Bobby Jurison, Gerald Bayless, Gary Lewis, and Stu Hill provide a solid rush. The linebackers Maurice Crump, Ray Bernard, Carlton Lentz, a little green, but they are effective.
Yes, they are, and they've got a great secondary playing in behind them, and one of the brightest newcomers to come into our league this year has been Barry Wilburn on the left corner, NFL veteran, and he has played very, very well.
2nd and 5 for McManus and the Lions. Volpe dropped the ball, and he was lucky to get it back. Jurison made the tackle on John Volpe. So a tough start for the Lions after they had a 2nd and 5 situation.
And John, you know, with the wind blowing as hard as it is tonight at Taylor Field, and currently it's at the back of the BC Lions, it will affect even the simplest of plays like that pitch to John Volpe. McManus just couldn't get it there. The wind just drove it into the turf, and you know, Saskatchewan did a smart thing. They deferred their choice till the second half, give BC the win in the first quarter. They will have it in the second quarter, of course, when you run many more offensive plays.
Markers are down. Pasaglia gets it deep with the breeze. Everett on the return. That's Trey Everett stopped at the 30. And leading the tacklers for the Lions was Doug Hocking, number 90. 14-yard return, a 56-yard punt by Lou Pasaglia that time. Referee for this evening is Bud Steen. Number 66, talking it over with Lou Pasaglia.
Offside on the defense. That penalty is declined. Going down here.
Penalty against the Roughriders. First down, Saskatchewan, beginning at the 30-yard line. Interesting formation here. 4 in a row. An I formation of sorts. Austin handing out to the newcomer, Blaze Bryant. And Bryant is to the 35 for a 5-yard gain. Ken Austin, over a couple of nagging injuries and ready to roll the Roughriders into second spot. One new face in the backfield, Blaze Bryant. Grabbed from the practice roster of the Bombers. He stands alongside Bruce Boyko. Trey Everett, Don Narcisse to the outside receivers, and 2 of the best in all football. Narcisse, or Fairholm, and Elgard inside.
An offensive line that just is getting better week after week. Haven't given up a sack in 5 games now.
This is Bryant, 2 carries in a row, and that one good for a first down. Stopped by Tyrone Jones.
Blaze Bryant is a very interesting story. He was on the practice roster of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Of course, played some games for Winnipeg this year when Michael Richardson was hurt. But you know, Don Matthews called Cal Murphy and said, look, we'd like to have him come in. Mike Saunders is hurt. what do you think? And Cal Murphy said, well, talk to him. And when you're on the practice roster, you don't have to go anywhere if you don't want to. But Blaise Bryant has been guaranteed 2 game checks here to come in. And how long he will stay, no one knows. But I don't think he'll stay the whole year. He'll probably end up back in Winnipeg if he clears waivers at some point.
Sort of rent-a-back, as it looks like right now. But he's off to a good start as a Rough Rider. Back-to-back 5-yard carries and a Saskatchewan first down. Austin shotgun. And there wasn't much there.
Austin's pass is
Trey Everett made the catch. Almost one-handed that, but there was nowhere to go. The Lions start 3 non-imports up front on defense. Warnock, McCready, and Scribner. Jones and West, the old Bomber duo, along with Zach Allen and O.J. Brigance, are the starting linebackers in BC.
And in the secondary, Andre Francis missed last week with ankle injury. He is back in the lineup. Kelly Sims is only in his second CFL game, and don't be surprised if Ken Austin works on him a little more than he did last week.
Again from the shotgun on 2nd and 11. Austin is intercepted, picked off near the 45-yard line. Les Brown has the interception for the BC Lions, and that's number 4 for 0-0, Les Brown.
And it shows you why Les Brown is a leader in the CFL in interceptions year after year. Here, he's covering on the outside, but what they're trying to do is hit the out. He looks back into the backfield. He's reading Kent Austin's eyes all the way, and when the ball is in the air, look, you watch him. He just simply leaves his man, breaks on the football, makes the interception. He knows he can take a chance like that because Austin's throwing into this tough wind, and that's a nice break for the Lions early.
From Taylor Field in Regina, CFL Live on TSN tonight. No scoring. The Lions have the ball when we return. First turnover of the night to the BC Lions. Danny McManus has an opportunity.
Yeah, Danny McManus, you know, he's played well in brief appearances this year. Danny Barrett had to go back to Florida to attend the funeral of his brother earlier in the year, so Danny McManus started in Edmonton against the Eskimos. They're so tough at home. He only went 28 for 41 that night, 369 yards, 4 TDs, and the Lions, of course, won that game 39-23. He is a quarterback that can get the job done. His credentials from university days are impeccable at Florida State, and well, you couldn't ask for a more consummate second quarterback than Danny McManus.
He was the player of the week that week, if memory serves me correctly.
Yes, he was. So, I mean, you don't lose a great deal. Hey, Danny Barrett's a great leader, and he's having a fine year, personal best in touchdowns for 21, but you know, if you have to go to the second guy, this is a pretty good guy to be able to go to.
McManus has had a little difficulty with the interception ratio in brief appearances so far this season. From the shotgun for the BC Lions, first down. Saskatchewan 40, McManus had trouble. Has an opportunity to get it away, and he looks deep, wide open, touchdown! Mike Trevathan in behind, all the cover, and it's a 44-yard touchdown for the BC Lions on a broken play. Trevathan slipped in behind the Saskatchewan secondary.
Boy, how many times you see that happen? Watch the snap here. McManus can't handle it, and maybe just the defensive backs relax or something, figuring a sack is imminent. But Danny McManus rolls out, has perfect vision downfield to find Mike Trevathan, who has his 10th touchdown of the year, and probably none have been easier than this one, as the coverage is simply blown, as John said.
Trevathan having a fine season. He's over 800 yards. The result of that touchdown catch.
But I think for the BC Lions tonight, it was a frustrating loss last week against Saskatchewan. You know, they had 10 penalties in a row. They actually played pretty well, but the score didn't indicate that. So for tonight, coming into Taylor Field, so important that they get off to a good start. They have the wind at their back. They have to take advantage of that, and they've been able to do it with the turnover and now the touchdown right behind it.
Lions got off to a good start last week against Saskatchewan at BC Place and had a 10-0 lead, but the Roughriders roared back for their victory.
Well, they had some awful things happen to them. Lonnie Turner dropped a missed field goal that he was returning, and Charles Anthony grabbed it for a touchdown. They missed a couple of block punts that they should have been able to block on Saskatchewan. It was just one of those games, and tonight for them, it's so important that they get off to a good start.
Lou Pasaglia missed last week's game for the Lions too with a hamstring problem, but he is back and in the lineup tonight. 7-0. Lions have the lead in the Roughriders. Here's the BC kickoff. Trey Everett.
He's out at the 30-yard line. Ryan Hansen leading the tacklers in an 18-yard return, setting Saskatchewan up near the 30-yard line. A one-play scoring drive. It took 44 seconds for McManus to connect with Mike Trevathan for his 10th touchdown of the season.
Yeah, another long, grinded out scoring drive.
And the Lions actually fumbled the ball on the play. Now Ken Austin intercepted on his last pass. Sets up the Saskatchewan offense. With 4 receivers to the far side, Blaze Bryant has nowhere to go. Glenn Scribner knifing through to make the tackle. Number 72 for the Lions. He's had a fine season. Matthews versus Ritchie. Second week in a row. Ritchie off to an outstanding start. Look at the numbers there.
Yeah, the numbers are a little different in total, so it's about the same percentage, though.
Yeah, I'd say so. A loss of 4. Second and 14. Facing Austin. A little pressure. Austin looked for Fairholm. Almost intercepted again. Fairholm took a big hit from Kelly Sims, number 3.
Coming on the play, number 3, Kelly Sims.
And Europe over to make the tackle.
Yeah, you see the BC Lions strategy already, too, is to take Kelly Sims, number 3, the newcomer, and he's going wherever Fairholm goes, and that means Eddie Taylor will cover Elgard. And you know, the ball was overthrown, and Kelly Sims gave Fairholm a pretty good shot just to kind of let him know that, hey, I'm going to be in your territory all night long.
Almost blocked. Penalty marker down. And no return at the other end. There are markers everywhere on the field. The punt traveled 22 yards. Blaze Bryant leading the tacklers for Saskatchewan. And Matic drew a penalty marker.
21, Lonnie Turner.
So we'll sort out the penalties when we return to Taylor Field in Regina. The Lions lead the Roughriders 7-0.
Show you what happens here. Doug Hawking comes right up the gut. Now it looks as though he's going to block Brent Matic's punt, but in effect the punt goes right underneath him. He doesn't touch the ball, so he gets called for contacting the kicker when he should have really blocked it. There's no yards called downfield, so the whole result of this is they're going to play the down over again. But this happened to the BC Lions twice last week. They were in perfect shape to block a punt and weren't able to do so. And you know, on that punt there, they should have had the block, Doug Hawking, but he just flew right over the top of it.
Net result, the Saskatchewan Roughriders will gain 5 yards. It is still 3rd down, and Matic is set to punt. This time standing at his 17. Matic averaging 39.6 yards per punt, and he's kicking into a rather stiff breeze at Taylor Field.
Lonnie Turner's only about 20 yards deep for this Matic punt. He's not expecting much of a kick.
It wasn't a deep kick at all into a 35-kilometer wind.
Matic punt again, picked up by
Lonnie Turner stopped near the 47. A 21-yard punt. And no yards on the return.
Interesting game of cat and mouse was played before the game, gentlemen. When BC won the coin toss, it deferred to the second half because the Lions want the ball in the 4th quarter, while Saskatchewan wants the ball in the 2nd quarter. So it made the unusual decision to give BC the wind and the ball to open this 1st quarter. The reasoning for Don Matthews, the 2nd quarter you get more plays in because it's a little longer.
Only a 5-yard penalty on the bounce back rule, so the BC Lions are set up near the 46.
10 BC. 46.5.
McManus is having a perfect night so far. 1 for 1 on the touchdown. Volpe got the call.
23, John Volpe.
Volpe's had a tough season for the British Columbia Lions. He missed 4 games in '92. And he's only played 2 games in 1993. Back to '91, he was Rookie of the Year.
And as we talked in the opening about the difference in the game, and it might be a John Volpe, this was something that the BC Lions were counting heavily on this year with a great offensive line and a super running back. They were expecting to dominate the league rushing, but it just hasn't happened that way due to the injuries.
From the shotgun, 2nd and 9. McManus has time. Lonnie Turner, and he just missed him. Turner was in behind the coverage as well. Mike Middleton covering on Lonnie Turner. And about a yard too far from McManus.
And it's a good offensive set for Danny McManus. Volpe comes out, the speedster Turner comes in, and he is in behind the coverage. But, you know, as he broke to the corner, he really didn't break in full stride, and he kind of gave up on the pass pattern a little bit early, and consequently it was about a yard or two overthrown. But I think Danny McManus is going to say, look, when you come out of that break, Lonnie, keep going full tilt because you're going with the wind.
Lou Pasaglia set to try a 52-yard field goal with a 35-kilometer wind at his back. He's good from 52. Lou Pasaglia. Good on 74% of his field goals so far. That's his 24th of the season. And the BC Lions, just like a week ago at BC Place, have a 10-0 lead on the Roughriders.
Yeah, a little bit of deja vu, but Lou Pasaglia nails one. Kicker comparison, well, Louis
two of the best.
Yeah, Louis had 6-year edge on Dave Ridgway, and the number of field goals, 598 now for Lou Pasaglia, 490 for Dave Ridgway. Both super kickers.
Every kick for Lou is another record. Here's Blaze Bryant having a good night running the ball for Saskatchewan. Zach Allen made the tackle. Bryant out across the 40. The gain is 5 yards.
You know, this is a situation, the BC Lion defense has already had one turnover, the Les Brown interception, but I really think that they can come up and crowd and play very tight on the Saskatchewan receivers. And of course, if they're going to run the ball with Blaze Bryant, be up and play that a little tighter too. They have to take advantage of this strong wind at their backs and knowing that it's going to be difficult for Austin to throw much more than 30-35 yards.
Pitch from the I formation. It's Bryant again, turning the corner effectively. And he has been the Rough Rider offense so far tonight. That'll be another first down for the Saskatchewan Rough Riders. Again, Zach Allen in on the tackle. They may take a closer look, but I think he's got it.
Blaze Bryant, a nice job to follow, blocking around the corner with number 63, Scott Hendrickson, and then cut up nicely. The Saskatchewan Roughriders doing a much more effective job when they run the football this year than they did a year ago. This year they averaged about 4.7 yards every time they tried to rush. Last year it was only about 3.6. And although they've run the ball less, they're running it better.
Yeah, Don Matthews says we're running more effectively.
Yeah, what that does too is they become a little less predictable than they were a year ago. And Kent Austin can run on a second down and pick up a first down.
First down, Rough Riders quickly over the middle. Jeff Fairholm. Penalty marker down. Fairholm is down at the 55.
Number 3, Lee Sims. Penalty marker on the far side.
Well, you look at the Saskatchewan offense and what do Jeff Fairholm and Ray Elgard mean to their offense? Well, 12 touchdowns between them. Elgard will be over 1,000 yards. Fairholm, the second player in the CFL to already do that this year. And no question, their offense revolves around the two slots and who's ever playing running back.
That time it was Bruce Boyko offside for Saskatchewan, so it'll be 1st and 15. This time Narcisse to the near side. Trey Everett flanks wide to the far side of the field. Pressure on Austin. He releases it. Great catch by Blaze Bryant. He has a first down. He's to the 50. He's some kind of back. 20 yards for Blaze Bryant. And on the reception that time.
And what impressed Don Matthews and the coaching staff and Kent Austin so much was how quickly Blaze Bryant learned this offense. He's been amazing. The screen, they invite James West and everybody to come in on the pass rush and then dump it off to Blaze Bryant with some blocking in front. There's Boyko with one on Zach Allen. And that's a nice call on first down and into the wind. Saskatchewan with back-to-back first downs. That's good.
Nice little one-handed catch by Bryant. Another first down for the Rough Riders. Far side, Elgard, the intended receiver. Eddie Taylor supplying the hits on Ray Elgard.
Elgard covering with 17 for BC.
Eddie Taylor will know he's been in a football game if he spends an evening covering Elgard.
What you want to do is try and mix it up on Austin with the pass rush. Here comes Zach Allen on the blitz right up there, gets the opening, and this is what you want to do. You don't want to let Austin get in any kind of a rhythm, and there you see with the blitz, he had to get rid of the ball early, and they will change from time to time. Not a steady diet of it, but every once in a while they'll come with it.
Austin from the shotgun on 2nd and 10. Standing in, far side, on target. Narcisse away from the first tackler. He got away from Eddie Taylor, number 17. Don Narcisse has 23 yards.
27 yards.
And the consecutive pass streak continues for Don Narcisse.
And this is a tremendous drive that Kent Austin is putting together. I mean, he's accomplishing moving down the field into scoring range. He's taking a lot of time off the clock in doing so and working into the wind. Seems like it's really not affecting the flight of his passes at all. That was a good strike all the way across the sidelines to Narcisse.
Nowhere to go for Blaze Bryant on first down.
21.
For Don Narcisse, that's a pass in every game he's played as a Saskatchewan Roughrider. And that's 104 straight games. The CFL record held by Tony Gabriel, 137.
That's a record to be extremely proud of for Don Narcisse. He stays healthy. No reason why he can't take a run at Tony Gabriel's record.
Loss of 1.
It's 2nd and 11.
It is 2nd and 11 for the Roughriders. Boyko, this will be a first down. This could be a touchdown. Boyko lost the ball in the end zone and it rolled right back to his feet. He claimed it for the touchdown. 28 yards. And the Roughriders are on the board. What a great start to a football evening at Taylor Field.
What a fabulous drive that was by Kent Austin. The BC Lions were coming with everybody, and a quick flip to Bruce Boyko, missed tackle, and he's able to get it into the end zone. But what a super drive into the win for Saskatchewan. And although the BC Lions struck early, Saskatchewan has fought back nicely. That, incidentally, John, is Bruce Boyko's first touchdown of the year of any sort, rushing or receiving. So he is going to hang on to that football.
He's saving a souvenir right down there on the sidelines at Taylor Field. Hang on to that for me. I'll pick it up after the game. 4:05 to go in the opening quarter at Taylor Field. Boyko into the end zone. And the Roughriders are within 3 of the BC Lions. What a fine scoring drive for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. 7 plays to cover 75 yards and a 28-yard reception by Bruce Boyko on the toss from Kent Austin. And a little rider roll here. Leaf, he lost it outside the 1-yard line.
Well, as he's getting ready to cross the end zone, he had both hands on it, but somehow it squirts loose, but he's able to recover it, and the touchdown, of course, occurs.
You'll see the indication from the official on the spot right there. Oops. It wasn't signaled a touchdown until it rolled to Boyko.
Hey, Dougie Darren, Jeanette, Paul, everyone back home in Hamilton, that's for you.
Ready for the Saskatchewan kickoff. Lonnie Turner and Darren Flutie. This is Flutie. He made a play on it at the 35 and had nowhere to go but out of bounds.
Well, you look at that Saskatchewan drive, and I think one of the most impressive things was when they had 2nd and 5 and they were able to run and pick up a first down. They weren't able to do that a year ago, and although the offensive production per game is roughly the same as it was last year, 390-odd yards a game, it's proportioned differently. The running game is more effective, and I think it's made Kent Austin a better quarterback.
Austin, 4 of 7, 70 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception so far tonight. Now, it is Danny McManus's turn. Lions first down, BC 35. John Volpe on the hitch screen, and he's across the 40 and met by Stuart Hill.
You talk about the importance of this game. We touched on it in our opening that, you know, this is almost like a 4-pointer. Whoever wins this game gets the season series. You see right there, the Eskimos are close behind, but whoever wins this game has a decided advantage for home field advantage in the playoffs.
5-yard gain, setting the Lions up at 2nd and 5 at the 41. .327 to go in the opening quarter at Taylor Field. Danny McManus starting for Danny Barrett, who's been bothered by the flu. McManus on 2nd and 5 has Alexander to the near side. Darren Flutie to the far side of the field. John, this is Turner. Lonnie Turner, number 21, in the backfield for John Volpe. There's a penalty marker down. Penalty looks to be against the Lions.
Nice block by Sean Millington, the fullback. You'll see Mike Middleton working out here, and this is where the lane is created for Lonnie Turner to come up through. But Millington, a size advantage over Mike Middleton at 225 pounds, and he does a super job, creates the block, and enough of an opening that Turner gets through there. But unfortunately, BC Lions are penalized. They will come back. Holding. Penalties have killed the Lions this year. You know, coming into this game, they've committed 171, and teams against them only 131. So, I mean, that is an area that has really hurt this club.
Yeah, and you mentioned last week they took 10 penalties in a row against Saskatchewan.
You know what? That is almost unheard of.
2nd and 15. McManus with time. Alexander, a big catch. Brought down by Barry Wilburn, and what a fine catch by Ray Alexander. He's missed 2 games, 3 games overall this season. He's missed the last 2, and he's back in form despite a rib injury.
Well, they need him in the lineup because with his speed and size, he can really stretch a defense out. He is a deep threat, and him in there really opens up a lot of things for Mike Trevathan and Matt Clark underneath when he clears out for them.
He's the big play receiver for the Lions, 18 yards on that play. Good fake to Volpe, and McManus underthrew it for Alexander on the far side.
Pass was intended for Clark on the far side. Incomplete.
2:02 to go with the British Columbia Lions leading in the opening quarter, 10-7.
2nd and 10 at the 49.
Yeah, summer is over
Yes,
out west. I found
officially.
that out in a hurry. I didn't bring a coat with me. I'm trying to stretch summer out for another few weeks, and I got caught.
It's going to be nice here tomorrow. Unfortunately, we're heading in the different direction. 2nd and 10. 5 receiver set for the Lions. McManus had time. There's a penalty marker down far side. Jurison got through to get to Danny McManus. Jurison coming into the game with 9 sacks. And that one doesn't look like it will count. Initial indication offside Saskatchewan.
Offside Saskatchewan.
So Bobby Jurison will have to wait to rack up his 10th sack. 1:33 remaining.
That's a big break for BC because with 1:33 remaining, you know, they'd like to take another shot at the end zone before this quarter comes to a close.
2nd and 5. This is Turner. One move too many in there, and he's caught short of the first down. The gain will be 3. Gary Lewis, number 79, making the tackle.
Well, you know, Joe Powell makes the offensive play selection calls for the BC Lions, and I really have to question that one. We talk about the importance of the wind at your back, and late in the quarter here, you know, they have to take a shot at getting some points, and now they put themselves in a situation running the ball on 2nd down where they don't pick it up, and of course now have to kick it away, and I'm really not too sure I agreed with that call on 2nd down.
Lou Pasaglia into the game with 48 seconds to go. He has the wind at his back. 3rd and a long one. Pasaglia angling this out near the 5-yard line. Well kicked by Pasaglia, fielded by Brown, and they actually spotted at the 9. A 42-yard punt by Lou Pasaglia, who got the job done for the Lions.
Gator 654 utility vehicle and the John Deere 425 tractor used by the rider staff here at Taylor Field. Now it's down to Willie.
Ken Austin off to a good start. If you take that interception off his total, that led to the BC Lions' first points.
Well, that 7-play drive that they scored Bruce Boyko's touchdown on was just a spectacular drive to eat up some time and get them back into this game.
Now the Saskatchewan Roughriders face just 11 seconds against the wind here. And Austin underthrew that one, intending it for Blaze Bryant, number 21. Bryant played 5 games with the Blue Bombers. He also plays catch with Ray Elgard in the offseason down in California. Don Matthews has quietly put his Saskatchewan Roughriders into solid contention for second spot in the CFL West. Austin out of the shotgun on 2nd and 10, standing at his goal line. And Bryant couldn't make the catch that time. That'll be the end of the opening quarter. And a solid first quarter it was, with the BC Lions leading Saskatchewan 10-7. The BC Lions scored 10 points with the wind in the opening quarter. Now they'll go into it, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders on the first play of the second quarter will kick with the breeze at their backs. Brent Matic standing about 10 yards into his end zone. His first punt traveled just 21 yards. This one is going to go a little farther, partner.
Yeah, well, if they can get it off for 2 weeks in a row, they've had great difficulty blocking the BC rushers.
Solid rush, and it's not a deep kick, but it gets a good Saskatchewan roll. Lonnie Turner spins near the 50, and he lost about 7 yards on that return. 40-yard punt. Ray Bernard leading the Saskatchewan tackler. Numbers from the opening quarter with 1 turnover given up by Kent Austin on the interception, and overall everything else looks rather close. Saskatchewan a little less time of possession than the BC Lions.
Don Matthews obviously knew something when he was willing to give BC the wind and the ball in the first quarter. Counting on his offense to get some good production to really neutralize that advantage by BC, and that's of course exactly what happened.
When you coach the Saskatchewan Roughriders, you have to play the wind games, don't you?
Yeah, you sure do. You have to really always be a step ahead as anticipating what factor it's going to play in the game, and obviously Saskatchewan has been able to do that.
Lions are 1st and 10 right at midfield. McManus at the controls. Fine catch by Sean Millington. First down, BC, stopped by Glenn Suter. And Millington comes up with a big play for the BC Lions in their first sequence into the wind.
And of course, those kinds of passes are easy into the wind, easy to complete. And Sean Millington's 27th catch of the year. You know, we did a game when Danny Barrett set the single game passing record at 601 yards. And in that game, Millington had 6 catches for 184 yards. So he can get it done in the receiving department.
15 on the previous play. McManus over the middle again. This time it's John Volpe. And that'll be another BC first down. Volpe stopped by Vincent Donaldson near the 25. McManus doing a good job for the Lions. 14 for Volpe.
Yeah, solid job by McManus. You know, he catches Saskatchewan on his own defense, and as Volpe gets underneath Ray Bernard, he's got lots of running room, and back-to-back excellent calls by McManus on first down going to his backs.
Now at the 24, McManus good on 5 of 7 for 96 yards. Volpe going nowhere there. Gerald Bayless, number 98. A loss of 5 yards. Bayless has 9 sacks on the season and 42 tackles.
And what Bayless does better than anyone else in the league is get penetration into the backfield, and you'll see him slide in behind the guard, Rob Smith, and make the play, and he leads the CFL in tackles for losses, and that's one of the reasons right there. His upfield penetration is quicker than anybody in the league. Number 98 coming right into your screen. As soon as that guard leaves, he is up and into the backfield.
A loss of 4. McManus over the middle. Not quite that time. Tight coverage by Barry Wilburn, number 3. Alexander was the intended receiver.
Solid coverage by Barry Wilburn. I told you in the opening lineups that he is probably one of the brightest newcomers to come into the league, and very tight coverage there, knocks the ball loose. Don Matthews in our meeting yesterday simply said he's the best corner in the league. Now, I think that's debatable, but there's no question in my mind he's certainly one of the best ones in the league.
Matthews claims he's a dominating player. Showed it on that play. Here's Lou Pasaglia. And Lou is 2 for 2.
From the 34-yard line.
Lions
13, Saskatchewan
into a
7.
13-7 lead. 12:08 to play till halftime. A good ball game brewing at Taylor Field in Regina. Isn't there always? We'll be right back.
For 47 years.
Those sheets will be back on a bed at the Regina Inn right after the game tonight, I'm
Perfect.
sure.
Yeah, we need them.
34-yard field goal for Lou Pasaglia to give the Lions a 13-7 advantage on the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Saskatchewan beginning at the 35-yard line. No receptions so far for the big 2, Ray Elgard. Jeff Fairhope. A 3-back formation. This is Blaze Bryant. He's been running wild for the Roughriders. Looks like a first down where they spot the ball out across the 45. An 11-yard gain for Blaze Bryant.
It's a nice look at Bryant. He's got Paul Vida out in front coming around the corner. Now Vida really doesn't even get a block, but Bruce Boyko does enough to seal it off, and Blaze Bryant with a good cutback right there. And boy, you know, we've said it before, but the Saskatchewan Roughriders have really improved their running production this year.
First down. Austin over the middle. Elgard had it go through its hands, and it's intercepted by Tom Europe. Europe returns it to the 45. No question about that one. Europe had an opportunity to pull in his first interception of the season a little earlier.
Well, Tommy Europe just sitting back in a center field position. You'll see Elgard come across the field, and you know he has a good chance to. Ray Elgard right here as he comes across, the ball's tipped, and Europe sitting back here as it's tipped. He is playing the perfect center field, and that's what you ask him to do. He's got large shoes to fill, taking over from Sean Pooty, but he's done a nice job so far.
On the turnover, the Lions set up at the 45. This is Volpe. And only a couple of yards for John Volpe, who hasn't managed many. -4 so far tonight for Volpe. McManus has had a fine start in relief of Danny Barrett. Out with the flu for this one. 5 of 8, just under 100 yards, and the 1 touchdown. On his first pass of the game, 44 yards.
Danny Barrett there to the right of Coach Dave Easley. You know, if he had to play, I'm sure he could.
This is 2nd and 8. McManus has that one batted down. Gerald Bayless got the meat hooks up and bashed that one to the ground.
You know, there are some good front fours throughout the league, but, you know, Saskatchewan's 4 guys, and Gerald Bayless may be the best at getting upfield. There he fights off Leo Groenwagen finally and doesn't give up, and then he knows he has a chance to knock the ball down if he goes high. He's able to do that, but between Lloyd Lewis and Gerald Bayless. I mean, those two tackles get such good penetration.
Third down in a kicking situation for Lou Pasaglia. Standing on his side of midfield by a couple of yards. Charge was on. This is Arrow Brown, the return for the Roughriders. Away from one, and he's nailed by the second man down. A 9-yard return. Donovan Wright leading the tacklers for the BC Lions. The punt traveled 33 into the breeze. So far, the Lions control the Roughriders, but there's lots more hard hitting ahead on the CFL Live from Regina.
Well, in many CFL stadiums, they have draws at the end of the first quarter, and they did the same thing here in Regina. So everyone put their name in a hat, and guess who won? Phil Kershaw, the former president of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, picked up $1,000, and the pressure's on here for him to give it back.
Yeah, I would think Phil will be turning that right back to the Rough Rider Fund.
I don't know. That's a tough call right there.
Lions lead the Rough Riders. It's 13-7. Ken Austin has tossed up a couple. The last interception didn't cost any points, but it did cost the Riders field position. They begin this drive at the 19. Saskatchewan with the win. Bryant gets the pitch from Austin. He has been the busiest Rough Rider on offense so far this evening. He ran into James West that time.
On a game like this with two evenly matched teams, it's usually which line can dominate the other one that may decide the outcome of this game. So far, it's been pretty even. Both teams trying to hammer away at each other, but reasonable success on the ground, but nothing that's really dominating as of yet.
Gain of 3, and from the shotgun, Fairholm couldn't bring it in.
Austin's pass and goal for Fairholm incomplete.
Sims was covering. That's number 3, Kelly Sims, covering on Jeff Fairholm. Well, talking about these two teams and how close they really are, Leif.
Well, you see the numbers there. I think the passing yardage, heck, you're 7 yards apart, and sacks, they're all the same. So really, when these two teams are tied in the standings in points and so close statistically,
Turner is back for this third down punt by Brent Maddich, who booms this one with a win. Turner looks to set up a head of steam. One block, but it might have been a little illegal.
Yeah, Tom Europe, number 13, came back, and if you can't get your head in front and make it legal, the coaches tell you time and time again, just pass him up, don't hit him, you're going to cost us yardage, and Tom Europe's going to get called for it. Well, you'll see it just to the left of your screen. And here, if you can't get the helmet in front, the rule of thumb is don't block. And his helmet is behind Blaze Bryant. And no question about that call. And he costs his team some valuable yardage when they're working into the wind. See, these are the kind of penalties that really hurt BC. They are a highly penalized team, and they're of the silly variety.
That's a 15-yarder, so that's from decent field position. Back now inside the 30. Alexander comes to the near side. The Lions are 1st and 10 at the BC 27. Tough running against the Saskatchewan defense. John Volpe ran into Stuart Hill and Gerald Bayless. The gain is 2.
And what's happening to the BC running game, they like to pull their guards and get out and lead for the backs, but the Saskatchewan tackles, Gary Lewis and Gerald Bayless, are so quick that they're following the guards down the line of scrimmage and making the plays and really nullifying any kind of running that the BC Lions like to do with pulling their guards.
2nd and 8 for the Lions. Shotgun, McManus. Here comes the charge. McManus away and throwing on the run. Over the head of Darren Flutie, who was out of bounds and being covered by Albert Brown, number 4.
And Albert Brown, being a veteran, really knew the situation. McManus throwing into the wind. He knew he may not get a lot on the football, so he gambled and came underneath Flutie, forcing McManus to throw it high, and there was just no way it could be completed. You see Brown's underneath him. Sometimes that's a pretty vulnerable position to be in, but Brown knew the situation with the conditions tonight and played it perfectly.
Lou Pasaglia into a 35-kilometer breeze. Pasaglia is standing at his own 15. The Riders should come out of this with great field position. Markers are down. This is Errol Brown across midfield. He lost the ball. Lions all around it, and I think the BC Lions have come up with a ball, but there is a penalty marker back at the line. It's a procedure call against BC.
Oh, boy. Once again, penalties, if that's the case, just killing the BC Lions.
Illegal procedure. Number 27 on the kicking team. Repeat, third down.
That's Donovan Wright, number 27.
That's a lot of yutters to give up. They had the turnover. And, you know, Errol Brown, he knows the punt block is on. He's got no people coming back to help him return this. You just got to take the ball and get down. You got 5 tacklers coming in at you. You know, it's not like you're going to beat the whole team. He makes a mistake, really, but he gets lucky and gets bailed out.
Pasaglia got a decent kick away on the last one. Now he's back at the 10.
You know, it's like the old days when we had no blocking on punt returns. When I used to return them, you know, it was, hey, catch it, get down. That's all we want.
And look at the field position for Saskatchewan here on the exchange on the penalty. A 15-yard punt by Lou Pasaglia. And the Roughriders are in great shape when we return.
As the Saskatchewan offense swings into action, everyone talks about the 2 great slot backs, but they in turn give credit to the quarterback, Kent Austin, for this team's great offensive power.
It's very important to have a quarterback like Kent in there because without him, I mean, the whole play starts with Kent and with our center and our offensive line, but Kent's like a coach on our football team, and without Kent, we couldn't do the things we do as an offense, and I certainly wouldn't have the statistics that I've had in my career.
I don't think there's any question that Jeff Fairholm and Ray Elgard should take Kent out for dinner at least once a week.
Thank you. You can grab it.
Without him, it'd be tough.
Between the 2 great slot backs, Elgard and Fairholm, no receptions so far tonight. Saskatchewan in great shape at the 40-yard line, and Fairholm missed another one. Austin is 0 for his last 5 pass attempts. 4 of 12 for 70 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions on the night.
And I've been impressed with number 3, Kelly Sims, and how tight he's been willing to play Jeff Fairholm, who's a very dangerous receiver. Hey, that's the kind of catch or attempted catch that he knows the hit's coming, and that's what Sims has been doing to him all night long, and it's paying off.
2nd and 10. Austin uses the shotgun. Far side, sideline toss to Trey Everett. And no catch there either. Ridgway is in.
Trey Everett getting a chance to play with Byron Williams out of the lineup. He's got a lot of speed. He's got a lot to learn too. And, you know, if Williams is healthy, obviously he will play, but a little playing time will help Everett down the road, hopefully. But, you know, I've been impressed with the BC Lions secondary tonight. They have really been willing to challenge the Saskatchewan receivers, regardless if it's with the wind or against the wind. And Kelly Sims in particular.
A 47-yard field goal drive, and Ridgway is on the mark. 13-10. The BC Lions now lead the Roughriders. Ridgway's 38th field goal of the year. Last week, going into British Columbia, Ridgway had kicked 28 in a row. He is a 92% field goal kicker so far this season. And the numbers have simply been staggering for Ridgway, who has only missed field goals in 2 games so far this season, including last week when he missed 2.
So he now obviously 38 for 41, which is just an extremely phenomenal mark. Nice for a quarterback to know that you have that kind of consistency. You know, sometimes that affects your play selection when you're in scoring territory. You maybe don't take as many chances.
Almost automatic. McManus looking for Alexander. And he came up with a football. They're calling it a reception at the 50-yard line. Alexander wrestled it away for a 25-yard gain. Albert Brown was covering. Nice catch by Ray Alexander.
Yeah, and you see what he means to this team when he is back in the lineup. He adds that extra dimension. He is a threat, and he can come up with the great catch. I mean, that is a circus catch up and over Albert Brown.
Pretty good coverage by Brown. He's right there.
It was great coverage. I don't think you can do it any better, but that's the extra dimension that the BC Lion offense has when Alexander's in there.
From the 50, McManus standing in. Has a target.
McManus pass is complete.
Matt Clark makes the catch. Number 85. Leading the Lions in yards so far this season, with 855 yards on 64 receptions coming into this one.
John, you know, last week the BC offensive line was embarrassed. They gave up 5 sacks, and their coach said, you guys are not focused. You have to concentrate harder, and I think you're seeing a much improved BC offensive line tonight. They are giving McManus time to throw.
John Volpe ran into Stu Hill on 2nd and a couple. See where they spot the ball.
Bernard stopping.
They'll measure it, but it looks like it will be a first down for the Lions, who have a 13-10 lead on the Roughriders at Taylor Field. 4:33 to go till halftime. First down by lots. An inch or two.
Yeah, a mile. Danny McManus, nice job into the wind here in the second quarter.
Lions are first down at the Saskatchewan 40. Fake to Volpe. Here comes the heat. McManus eludes it, and he's caught from behind. Gary Lewis caught up to him after Stu Hill stood his ground and slowed him down. McManus grabs a couple. Looked like there might have been a little more territory for McManus, but the hole closed up in a hurry.
Well, I really don't think this is Danny McManus' forte to run the bootleg. He's not the quickest of quarterbacks, but Gary Lewis will finally run him down from behind. I think that's more of a Danny Barrett style play, but hey, when you've got an offense prepared for that week and your starter isn't able to go, McManus has to go with what they plan.
2nd and 8 BC. McManus over the middle and off target that time. He was hit just as he released the ball for Matt Clark. The middle linebacker, Ray Bernard, was through to pressure McManus that time. Another look. Here comes Ray. Say, Ray.
Well, he was right there, and no question he affected the flight of that pass. And you know, often the little things help out the defensive back so much. It wasn't a sack, and it'll strictly go as an incompleted pass, but the story was that Bernard was there in time to help out his defensive back, Vincent Donaldson, who was actually beaten by Matt Clark.
Bernard is 2nd in tackles in the Canadian Football League with 69. He's 2nd to Willie Pless. Lou Pasaglia into the wind, and this one comes up a little short. Good return brewing for the Roughriders. Albert Brown. He's going to go all the way. 108 yards for A. Brown. Place to watch a football game. Taylor Field, Regina.
Well, all the kids at the Knothole game come running out of the corner. They congratulate them, and then they run right back into their seats.
Yeah, very well behaved, aren't they?
Yeah, well, nobody seems to get too upset about it here. You know, you don't get the coverage on a field goal miss that you would on a punt. And the BC cover team just can't spread out enough. And Albert Brown really only has to beat one guy to the outside, and he is off and running. And wow.
Some kind of wonderful run by Albert Brown.
Well, Sean Millington had a shot at him there, but just couldn't stay with him. But you know, it all becomes a situation where you just don't get the coverage on a missed field goal that you would on a punt.
And for the first time tonight, the Roughriders have the lead. Albert Brown has the touchdown. Saskatchewan leading 17-13 on the CFL Live. Happy times at Taylor Field as the youngsters rejoice. And that's Albert Brown and Wilburn in there being mobbed by the fans after Brown's 108-yard touchdown return.
You know, I think that was the toughest part of the return was getting beaten up in the end zone there. He's still bucking. That's 108 tough yards.
Here's the kickoff. Let's see what Lonnie Turner can do in return. A lot of dipsies and a couple of doodles, but not many yards for Lonnie Turner. Lions will start near the 25.
And interesting, such as last week where the BC Lions jumped out to an early 10-0 lead, the Saskatchewan Roughriders have slowly been able to take the momentum totally back to their side. Now, of course, move ahead 17-13.
3 minutes to the half. McManus at the controls for the BC Lions, and he's done a good job.
No, it's funny, a special teams play turned the game around last week, you know, when they stripped Turner of the missed field goal, and Anthony got the touchdown out. Albert Brown with the missed field goal return touchdown, and this game's so similar to 1 week ago.
Millington couldn't hang on. The Lions had a 10-0 lead. They have scored only 3 points since, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders have added 17.
Yeah, this is a crucial point right now. I think the BC Lions have to regroup. There's 2:55 to go. The worst thing they want to have happen is to have a quick 2-and-out on offense and give Kent Austin the ball back with the momentum on his side.
The Lions are 6-3 when scoring first this season. 8-0 for Dave Ritchie with a lead at the half. We talked about the 10-0 lead they had last week and lost. McManus on 2nd and 10. Alexander got one hand on it. Couldn't bring it in. There's a penalty marker at the line.
Offside. Number 24 on the defense. It'll be second down, repeat it.
Vincent Donaldson was offside. So it'll be 2nd and 5 and a break here for the Lions with 2:50 to go in the opening half. What a great half of football.
Boy, do we have a halftime show coming up for you tonight.
Almost picked off. It is. Carlton Lance will score.
And he says, no, I'm not doing, I'm getting out of there. I saw what happened to Albert.
Linebacker Carlton Lance, who backs up in the secondary as well, picked off the Danny McManus pass. Interception of the year for Carlton Lance. It's a 30-yard touchdown for the Roughriders.
And he's been a nice project for the Riders this year. Came in as a defensive back, and it's one of those guys that's big enough to play some linebacker as well, and that's the niche he has ended up with on this defense. Done it nicely, anticipates well, and obviously you know he's going to be good in pass coverage. He showed it to you right there. Third interception, a big one it was for a touchdown, and Saskatchewan Roughriders have slowly, a couple of minutes, taking full control of this game. Now here's Lance at the linebacker. He's walked off out. He knows it's a passing situation. You got Flutie here. Matt Clark's going to go out and then come back underneath. And Lance just reads and steps in front. And he's home and cool with the touchdown. But see, he's reading back into the backfield, watching McManus's eyes. As soon as he looks towards Clark, he's breaking on the football. And well, that's a super defensive play.
Lance His third interception of the season, his first for a touchdown. And this was a pretty easy pick.
Well, you know, when a quarterback steps back to the center and looking strictly at where he's going to throw, and if there's a linebacker that reads into the backfield, I mean, that's a play that can be made.
Here comes Lonnie Turner. Out across midfield. And he stopped at the 50-yard line by Mike Middleton. So the Lions have great field position and lots of time to hit the end zone. But the Roughriders have scored 17 points in a row.
We go back to Carlton Lance's play. You know, when he doesn't have any man-to-man coverage, he's dropping off. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. He's get back to his area and then read the quarterback. Yeah, that was textbook.
The Lions have controlled the ball game, one would guess, in the second quarter. But the Roughriders have all the points.
Well, I mean, there's 2:33 to go. I think this is critical for BC to answer back in a hurry.
McManus is on target. That'll be a first down. Matt Clark makes the catch. Clark has had two 100-yard games in 1993, both against Saskatchewan. He was 11 for 123 last week and 11 receptions for 136 yards in the overtime win by the Lions in July.
Ball's up to Saskatchewan, 37.
2:17 to play till halftime. Hole opening up for John Volpe. But it closed rather quickly as Gerald Bayless and Gary Lewis applied the sandwich on Volpe.
How about this, guys? Saskatchewan has scored 14 points, and the offense hasn't been on the field in the last 6 minutes. Kent Austin has been standing on the sideline shivering, while special teams and defense have done the job.
It's an interesting story, this Rider return. 2nd and 7 Lions. Saskatchewan 34. McManus has time. Alexander can't bring it down. Hang on, it's not Alexander. It's Flutie, Darren Flutie, number 82.
Albert Brown with a super play to come up over the top, and just as the catch was about to be made, he slaps the ball loose. Saskatchewan, you know, although they haven't had any sacks tonight, they certainly have put some pretty serious pressure at times on Danny McManus, and believe me, those hits like that one by Bobby Jurison take their toll throughout the course of a game. But there's the play by Albert Brown, up over the top, just slaps that ball away. What a contribution he has made tonight defensively, and of course that 108-yard touchdown return off the missed field goal.
Lou Pasaglia, a 41-yard field goal try, and he's on target. That's the 600th career field goal for Lou Pasaglia.
I'll tell you, this tells me one of two things. Either Louis' leg's getting a lot stronger, or that wind is dying down a little bit.
I think it is just a little bit.
I'll tell you what, we don't replay field goals too often, but when you get number 600, I think that's
into the wind at Taylor Field.
41-yarders split in the middle.
Yeah, right in the hearts. He is the all-time pro scoring leader. Lou Pasaglia. Here's Ken Austin. Fairholm.
Flag on the play.
And Taylor turned at the right moments. The last possible second, Eddie Taylor turned around and knocked that away from Jeff Fairholm. Penalty marker down. It'll be against the Roughriders.
Illegal procedure. Number 81 on the offense. It's first down, repeat it.
81! Boy, he gets called for that a lot. That's Ray Elgard, and usually
just trying to time that step at the line.
Yeah, he tries to get a jump on everything.
First and 15 now at the 30.
Trey Everett to the near side. That means Narcisse is to the far side of the field. Here's Austin. All kinds of time. Elgard. First catch of the night for Ray Elgard. Markers down near the 50. Still a minute 25 to go till halftime.
Ray Elgard so good at finding the hole. BC Lions are in a zone coverage, and he just keeps coming across until there's an open lane. And there Austin throws it right in between the linebackers, Ty Jones and James West. Ray Elgard with the catch. Toughest thing to teach a young receiver is how to just kind of slow down when you get in that open lane.
Number 80 on the offense after the first down was gained. It's first and 10.
Oh, clipping call on Don Narcisse after the first down was made. So although they'll bring it back and lose some yardage, they still do pick up the first down.
Yeah, it was a 21-yard gain, but that'll be marched off a little bit. Still enough for the first down. And the penalty to Don Narcisse. He's to the far side once more. Trey Everett to the near side. Flank wide right. Shotgun formation. Austin feathers this one out. Fairholm has the catch. At the 45, and Eddie Taylor made the tackle. I thought there was a face mask there. Fairholm indicated that, but there was no call. 29 yards the game. Watch closely.
Yeah, watch the move to the inside right there. Get the hips turned and now break it back outside. And that's the kind of pattern you'd say to yourself, I got him. I hope the ball's in the air. It was right on target. A face masking penalty that John alluded to was not called, but boy, as a receiver, when you make that break and you know you're home free, you just hope that ball's in the air, and it was.
First catch for Fairholm this night. And the Riders with 1:03 to go are set up near the 45. Austin is down.
Ball carries the quarterback.
Derek McCready, number 79, and that's the first time Austin has been sacked in some time.
Well, usually if he feels that pressure coming, he'll get rid of the ball. That's what defensive players say is so frustrating about trying to sack Austin, but he really hung in here hoping that Elgard would come open, and it just took too long, and McCready was able to get the sack. But that's a tough thing about Austin. He just won't allow you to hit him. He'll just get rid of it.
Fifth sack for McCready, and the first time Austin has been sacked in 5 games. Shotgun formation, second in a bunch. Austin to the far side. Bounced it for Everett. And 38 seconds remain in the opening half. We've seen just about everything here so far tonight. Ferroni File comes your way at halftime. A sports update and the story of the game with Leaf.
Well, there's lots of things to show. A couple of big plays by Saskatchewan. Carlton Lance, interception for a touchdown. Albert Brown, 108 yard. Touchdown, kick return. That pretty much turned the tide of this football game.
Madich with the wind at his back. Standing at his 42. Lonnie Turner fields it at the 5. And there's nowhere to go. First man down. David Pitcher limited the return to 0. And a 48-yard punt by Madich pins the Lions deep with 29 seconds till halftime.
A tough thing for the BC Lions. You come into a game and you say, well, if we can control Kent Austin, you know, we have a great chance to win this game. Well, in the first half they have, but they still find themselves losing this game, and it's because of the big plays we talked about a minute ago. The Brown touchdown and the Carlton Lance touchdown, but you know, it hasn't been really Kent Austin in normal fashion that's gone out and carved you.
Riders scored 2 touchdowns in a hurry and 17 points in a row to take the lead. Sean Millington has about 23 seconds till the half.
Get a 5.
6 yards the gain.
Saskatchewan Roughriders call a very strategic timeout here with 23 seconds to go. What they want to force the BC Lions to do is either pick up that first down and, of course, kill the clock. And if they don't, they will not be able to run it out and will have to maybe punt the football and into this wind. And Saskatchewan, of course, would have some kind of play on. But smart call to force the issue with the BC Lions that they can't just kill the clock.
Don Matthews looking for his 3rd straight win for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. The Riders 8-5, just like the BC Lions.
Of course, in talking to him yesterday, you really get the feeling that he likes this team. I mean, you always like your team, but even more so for him this year because the defense has improved.
Well, this is his team. There's no doubt about it. Volpe fumbled the ball. 16 seconds on the clock, and I think, well, hang on, we'll see who's got it here.
I think BC got it back.
I think you're right. That was close to being a major error for the Lions. Inside the 10. Jim Mills, number 66, looks to have jumped on the ball.
That is quite a battle. Ian Sinclair on Gerald Bayless. Bayless just threw the block aside and came in, stripped it, but Jim Mills was able to recover. What a break for the Lions that was. That
was a great play by Mills, diving to get that. Talking about Matthews and this being his team. Only 4 players, Jurison and Lewis up front, Albert Brown and Glenn Suter in the secondary remain from when Matthews took over this football team midway through 1991 on defense. So it is very definitely Don's team right now. At halftime at Taylor Field, the Roughriders have stormed back into the lead. They were down 10-0. They now lead it 24-16. It's halftime on CFL Live.
Play time.
This week on the Ferroni File, we're joined by my former coach, Bob Obilovich. Obi, today we're going to do a little thing, a word association thing. I'm going to say a word, and you say the first thing comes to your mind, all right? And we'll start with a real easy one, Butte, Montana.
Hey, that's family and friends, and the people in Butte, Montana are the greatest people anywhere. And I'm not just saying that because that was my home, but people that go there will tell you the same thing.
George Brancato.
George was my first head coach. I went to the Ottawa Roughriders as an assistant coach in the CFL, and we've got a great relationship. Our families were very close, and I always respected the fact that he gave me my first CFL job.
1983, we finally won it.
Well, that was a great game, and you remember that well, Danny. BC Place, that was the first year of that stadium, and we never lost there the whole season. We beat BC there in the league game, and we beat them in the Grey Cup. And coming from behind when they had us, you know, by 10 points at halftime and winning, it was a great experience, and you know, it was just something I'll always be really cherished.
Jerry Carrick.
Oh, that guy, I have nightmares thinking about him. I would have bet money that year in the '87 Grey Cup that he wouldn't have made that field goal, but it was a 50-yarder with 45 seconds to go, and they took away a Grey Cup ring with that kick, and you know it as well as I do.
Yeah, we're still crying about that.
Right.
Mr. Harry Ornest.
I don't have a whole lot to say about Harry.
Well, Mr. Ornest had a lot of things to do with 1991 BC Lions.
Well, the 91 season, it was an unbelievable year. I went in there, as you well know, in 1990, similar to this situation, in September, and had to kind of get things reorganized, and taught Doug Flutie the CFL game, and in that 91 season, we played 6 overtime games and came within a hair maybe of going to the Grey Cup. We lost to Calgary 43-41 in the semifinal in Calgary, and then of course that was the year the Argos won the Grey Cup, so it was a heck of a year. It was such an exciting year because we turned things around in BC, and we averaged 41,000 a game that year, better than anyone in the league, and previous in recent years that's been the best attendance by anyone. So I'll always remember that year, and I think that team, had we played defense as good as we had to, we were missing a few people to be as good as you want. You know, I think that team could have won the Grey Cup.
Dennis Meyer.
Dennis is a very loyal, dedicated, hard-working coach, and he went through some trying times as a head coach. I think he's learned a lot with the experience he had as a head coach, and it'll probably serve him well for the future. But I'm happy that he remained to stay with the organization, and I have every confidence in his ability to help us develop another winner here in Toronto.
Okay, Coach, the last one. This one's, you're going to have to dig deep for this one, but Dan Ferroni.
Dan Ferroni was probably one of the most consistent offensive linemen I've ever had the opportunity to coach. A lot of your offensive linemen aren't as good an athlete as Dan was. You know who he is?
Dang, that's why I love this man.
That's the first nice thing that I probably ever said about Danny.
And that's
no,
true.
No, that isn't true.
Into the wind, and this one comes up a little short. Good return brewing for the Roughriders. Albert Brown. He's going to go all the way. 108 yards.
Fun times at Taylor Field in Regina. The crowd in the end zone was having a great time there. The Roughriders come back from a 10-point deficit to lead at halftime.
Well, you look at the first half, and really, what was the turning point? I think it was the Albert Brown touchdown. BC Lions just couldn't get their coverage from that field goal formation. Albert Brown took it all away, but, you know, it was another big play on the next series. BC gets the ball back, and Danny McManus coughs one up.
Yeah, right after that, 2 touchdowns in a row. This is 17 points in a row, and this is Carlton Lance heading into the end zone.
Well, he's just played super at the linebacking spot, converted defensive back, and he read into the backfield perfectly. His 4th interception of the year. This one results in a touchdown, so really the entire story of the half just wrapped up in 2 plays. Albert Brown and Carlton the doorman Lance.
The BC Lions have to find a way to play with the lead. They've led the Roughriders 2 weeks in a row, 10-0. And now they trail at halftime once more.
Taylor Field, Regina. Here are the numbers from the opening half. With the BC Lions having 150 net yards, the Saskatchewan Roughriders 142. The Lions 18:32 time of possession compared to 11:28, but is the Roughriders leading the ball game.
Well, John, it really confirms our storyline from the half of 2 big plays, and you know, I guess we know the outcome of this game already. Saskatchewan's going to win.
Well, yeah, it would appear if
they're leading
the form charts prevailed.
Well, one of these teams will have a blemish on that graphic at the end of this game.
We've seen a pretty good first half. We'll see if the Lions can bounce back after having a great lead and then falling behind by giving up 17 straight points to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Ridgway ready to kick it off and get the second half underway.
And of course, the wind, which has died down a little bit here in the second half, but still is a factor. Saskatchewan, of course, will have that in the 4th quarter.
Lions did score 10 points with the wind in the opening quarter. Now it has died down a little bit here in Regina. No doubt about that.
Boy, if you looked at those statistics strictly and said who's leading this game without knowing the score, I bet you'd say the BC Lions, but it just hasn't been the case.
And Kent Austin has tossed a couple of interceptions in the ball game. Lonnie Turner for the Lions beginning at his 32. And Bruce Boyko leads the Saskatchewan tacklers. Boyko scoring his first career CFL touchdown in the opening half.
I think this is an important series for Danny McManus starting the 3rd quarter. He's seen his team lose all their momentum late in that 2nd quarter, and his numbers are not great. You have to understand half of that first half was against the wind, but this is a crucial series and a crucial possession for the BC Lions to try and forget about what happened late in that 2nd quarter and get something positive going.
On first down, McManus has to unload in a hurry, and Alexander has visit at midfield for a key Lion first down.
And you can only complete a pass like that takes so long to develop if your line is blocking for you. And for the most part tonight, I think the BC offensive line has given McManus a pretty good time to throw. Sure, he's been pressured a few times, but in order to stand in there that long and wait for Alexander to come across the middle, the O-line did a nice job.
16 for Alexander, his third catch. He has 59 on the night. Lions, 1st and 10 at the 54. McManus stands in. Volpe can't make the catch. He's had a tough night. John Volpe, number 23.
And of course, you know, Corey Philpott, a fine running back, replaced John Volpe throughout his injury period. And really the consensus is the difference between the two is Philpott's the better receiver, Volpe the better runner. And I think on that occasion you saw Volpe should have been able to make that catch. It might not have picked up a great deal of yardage, but still it would have been a positive play.
Second and 10. The Lions out near midfield, trailing 24-16. McManus has a man wide open. It's Sean Millington away from one tackle. Look at the way he held onto the ball, and he was finally brought down by Charles Anthony. 14 yards for Millington. Couple of big plays for the Lions to get inside Saskatchewan territory.
Yeah, it's a great call on man-to-man coverage. You got Millington going this way. Now, Mike Middleton has to come all the way from here to cover him, but he gets bumped off by his own man, and he can't get out to take Millington, and eventually Millington will have to run hard for a few extra yards to pick up the first down, but they rubbed off the linebacker nicely to allow Millington to catch the ball initially.
This time, Darren Flutie to the near side on 1st and 10 BC. McManus, man open, it's Alexander with a great catch. Up, and he's down to the 10-yard line. Albert Brown making the tackle and finally stopping Ray Alexander, who was down once and got up and scrambled for a couple.
And for a guy who's missed 2 games with injured ribs, Ray Alexander looks like he's 100% tonight, because he'll take a great shot as he exposes himself high in the air to make that. And here comes the hit by Suter, who's a tough hitter from the middle safety spot, but that is just an outstanding catch to keep their drive going. And you know, we said this is an important drive, and they're doing it nicely.
From the 12-yard line, first down BC. Volpe makes the catch. He's down to the 5. Maurice Crum, number 99, got over to make the tackle. The gain is 6.
Halftime, this is like a playoff game for you guys. You don't want to come back here in November. As well, the Lions, with the choice in the second half, took the ball right away instead of waiting for the fourth quarter with the win. They felt they couldn't afford to wait that long.
That's an interesting call, Gord. I think what they thought was, hey, we have to change the momentum of this game immediately, and it looks just like they're doing a nice job to try and do that.
2nd and 4 from the 6. No problem. Touchdown, John Volpe. The Lions are right back into this one as Volpe carries in from the 6-yard line.
What a super drive by Danny McManus to begin the third quarter here. Mixed up his plays well, through to his backs coming out of the backfield, and Ray Alexander with the big catch, and now Volpe powers it into the end zone. And when you talk about turning points in the game, Albert Brown's touchdown was, and maybe this drive will be the turning point for the Lions.
Volpe did a good job for the Lions on that drive, and Lou Pasaglia gets BC within 1 once more. Here's John Volpe, and there's the goal line. It's 24-23 Saskatchewan. The third quarter at Taylor Field just nicely underway, and the BC Lions have answered with a quick touchdown to get right back into this ball game. 6 plays, 72 yards, real nice scoring drive, Leaf.
Oh, it really was. And, you know, we said at the beginning of the show, John Volpe's rushing may be the difference in the game. Well, it really hasn't been the difference so far, but it was a pretty nice 6-yard run to get the BC Lions back into this one.
Yeah, he really came on that drive, also making a catch for a key first down. A nippy night at Taylor Field, but fans of the Roughriders are having a good time as usual. 22,103. Short kick. Who's got it? Boyko.
Bruce Boyko got it.
Number 15. And the Riders will begin just near the 45.
Pretty unusual kickoff with the wind at your back.
Yeah, real short. Instant field position. Austin good on 6 of 16 for 120. There's 2 interceptions on the night. The first one cost the Roughriders 6.
Hey, one great 7-play drive on the Boyko touchdown, and that was pretty much his first half.
Shotgun. Austin for Fairholm. This guy is quick. Jeff Fairholm. A race to the end zone, and he's caught by Les Brown.
Brought down by Les Brown.
Jeff Fairholm has outstanding acceleration. He showed it there for a 51-yard run.
Here you're going to see Eddie Taylor as Fairholm will come in there. Eddie Taylor misses the key tackle. He would have had him at the line of scrimmage, but the missed tackle right there, and look what this play ends up, the result of it.
Roughriders are set up at the 15. Boyko makes the catch. He's tackled almost immediately.
Boyko.
That's the key element of it, going back to Fairholm's catch. Harold Jones made the play there, but I mean, you're talking about a 4 or 5 yard pass that turns into the huge gain just by one missed tackle. But that's the element that Fairholm gives this offense. It's not just long bombs that make him so dangerous. It's his ability to run with the football as well.
A gain of 3. This is 2nd and 7. Roughriders just outside the 10. Austin looks to the corner. He's off target. Boyko, number 15, was the intended receiver. Gordon.
Well, the flu is starting to take its toll on the BC sideline. Among those really not feeling well, Danny Barrett, who couldn't start the game. Jim Mills is now complaining of severe stomach cramps. And John Volpe is also very much under the weather. So as the game progresses, it could become more of a factor.
Yeah, Gord, there were a lot of guys that were hurting coming into Saskatchewan yesterday. Les Brown didn't practice. He was not feeling well. And, well, you know, once that flu bug hits a team, it's so tough to keep everybody healthy. And we'll see what kind of result that is in the 4th quarter.
Dave Ridgway, an 18-yard field goal. And the lead has changed hands once more as the Roughriders move out in front by 2. It's 26-27, 23. 9:30 to go. 3rd quarter at Taylor Field. The speed of Jeff Fairholm. This set up a field goal, 51 yards. Finally caught from behind by Les Brown.
Right, you talk about the leading receivers in the league. 3 Canadians atop the 1,000-yard mark, and Canadians are going to be extinct in another few years, are they? Well, let me tell you.
That guy's like this.
Well, 5 out of 10 of the top 10 receivers are Canadians. So hey, I guess we can play. I don't know.
Yeah, this guy can play. Sapunjas can play. Elgard has proved he could play. He's the 2nd leading receiver all time in Canadian football. And here's Darren Flutie. Out across the 40, near about the 45. Stopped by a mess of Roughriders. Jeff Fairholm, over 1,000 yards receiving, 3 straight years. 9:21 to play, 3rd quarter. The Roughriders lead 27-23.
They talk about Fairholm Was that 3 straight years now?
First and 10.
How about Elgard? 7 straight for him.
Yeah.
Folks, a field goal of 18 yards by Dave Ridgway made some little child's wish. Now $50
to the near side this time, number 82, Darren Flutie. Ray Alexander wide for BC to the far side of the field. From the 42, first down. Good fake by McManus. Time to throw on the run, and Alexander, ever steady, makes the catch. Or rather, Flutie, number 82, making the catch near side.
And that's what Darren Flutie is at his best on the play action when he has a little extra time to work a defensive back, and he's able to turn Barry Wilburn around on the out pattern. And Danny McManus with some tremendous play faking in the backfield gets outside and nicely executed play. Gets 9 yards, and that's will be a key for BC here in the first half, or the second half rather, how well they can produce on first down situations.
9 yards, the gain. This is 2nd and 1. This is Volpe, and easily the first down. Maurice Crump made the tackle. Volpe stopped short of the 50-yard line.
It's first down, Lions. Ball at the Rider
52. 7:59 to play, third quarter at Taylor Field. The Roughriders leading the Lions 27-23. McManus on first down, another good fake. Standing up and throwing high that time. Alexander was the intended receiver. Barry Wilburn covering on the play, number 3.
Get a good look at Barry Wilburn's technique on Ray Alexander. Alexander tries to straighten him up and then break it back to the inside, but Barry Wilburn is with him step for step. 1987, he got a Super Bowl ring with the Washington Redskins. Had a couple of interceptions in the Super Bowl against John Elway. He's a good one.
2nd and 10, Lions now. Here comes the charge. McManus away from one, out for Volpe, and it's just over his head. The Lions almost made that play work. McManus got away from the initial charge.
I think it was a good job just to get the ball into an area where nobody else could catch it, and hope that Pasaglia comes in and is able to pin Saskatchewan deep. I think both defenses tonight have mixed up the blitz and the zones nicely against Austin and McManus to try and confuse them. At times they have been able to do that.
Lou Pasaglia standing on his side of the Lion 45. Errol Brown lost it. Who comes up with the ball? It looks like the Roughriders get it back. A 32-yard punt. Big hit by Doug Hocking, number 90.
Yeah, he works extremely hard on the special teams, and you get a great look at him coming down with a full head of speed, and watch the hit Errol Brown will take.
Woohoo!
Oh, man, that's a pretzel job there. I'll give Errol Brown credit, though. He wanted to make sure that that ball didn't hit the ground on the punt and save his team some yardage, and sure like that style, but just got to hang on to it.
From the shotgun on first down, Austin pumps once, near side. Fairholm can't make the catch. Kelly Sims, number 3, was covering on Jeff Fairholm.
Kelly Sims.
A couple of number 3s in the secondaries having an impact tonight. Kelly Sims, a couple of pass interference calls last week, but he has great speed. Playing his second game.
There you see where the disguised coverage fools Kent Austin. It looks as though Fairholm's open initially with a broken coverage, but Sims in behind with the deep third to pick it up.
Farthing is in for Fairholm, shaken up on the previous play. That's Blaze Bryant, number 21. And the gain is 3 yards. Saskatchewan leading 27-23 with 6:17 to play in the third quarter.
Number 22, ball 25.
I think if I were the BC Lions at this point with Matic punting into the wind, I would really forsake the return and try and come after and get that quick block. They've come close, and well, I think I'd sacrifice the return and try and get the quick block. And they have 11 men up on the line of scrimmage.
Matic back at his 10. Lonnie Turner at his 50. And a good return for Turner, who is forced out by Ray Elgard on the far side. 13 yards after a 36-yard punt. Great ball game brewing at Taylor Field in Regina on the CFL Live. Into the third quarter at Taylor Field in Regina. The Lions countered with a touchdown. The Roughriders with a field goal, and it's 27-23 as the moon shines over Taylor Field in Regina. Following the game, tonight's TSN Turning Point will be brought to you by Apple Auto Glass. Guaranteed the pick of the crop from coast to coast.
A properly installed windshield provides up to 18% of your car's structural strength. Another reason Apple Auto Glass only uses the Bond for Life installation system. Protect what really matters.
Apple Auto Glass.
First and 10, the BC Lions just inside the Saskatchewan 50. McManus on the out pattern, far side, Ray Alexander. Covered by Albert Brown, number 4. A BC first down. Alexander, sore ribs for 2 weeks on the sidelines, and he's not quite 100%, but he's playing like it tonight.
Boy, he could have fooled me. He's having a great night. He's the hot receiver for the BC Lions, so Danny McManus is using him as effectively as he can. He runs trips to the wide side of the field. That gives Alexander one-on-one on the backside, and you've got a hot guy. 5 catches, 106 yards. You got to keep going to him.
That sets the Lions up first down at the 30. Volpe, maybe a yard, because Bobby Jurison was standing right there.
What's amazing to me about this Saskatchewan front four, Jurison, Stu Hill, Gerald Bayless, and Gary Lewis, is they are so quick getting upfield into the pass rush, and you would think that they'd be vulnerable to the run in doing so, but they're not. Guys like Bobby Jurison and Bayless work down the line of scrimmage so well, and I mean, they are a very, very talented group. They've really put the hammer on John Volpe tonight. They're only averaging 1 yard a carry. That's well below his norm.
McManus bobbled it in the shotgun, and he really threw that one away, I think. No one was around. Millington might have been the closest receiver, maybe Volpe, but it wasn't close to a completion. So it'll be third down, and here comes Lou. 36-yard field goal try. Earlier, he scored the 600th of his CFL career.
29-yard line.
Pasaglia good on 3 of 4. The fourth one was returned by Albert Brown. 108 yards for a Saskatchewan touchdown. Pasaglia has the Lions back on top. Check that, 27-26. Saskatchewan leading. 4:04 to go.
We apologize for the
Well, they've had some good crowds at Taylor Field here. How about the Labor Day game? What was it? 33,000
yeah,
the following week, over 30,000 again. Tonight, I think, is around the 24,000 mark for a Friday night game here in Regina, but boy, they love their riders.
First and 10, Saskatchewan, 35.
Roughriders on first down. This is Blaze Bragantz, and Bragantz was there. There was nowhere to go for number 21 as O.J. Bragantz came through to make the tackle and cause a 5-yard loss. Bragantz tied for the league lead in sacks with 15.
And Bragantz has seen this formation enough tonight with 4 people in the backfield. There are his numbers in the sack department, tied with Caulfield, Tim Caulfield of Hamilton. But You know, the point being that they have seen this formation with 4 people in the backfield, and Saskatchewan's run out of it pretty near every time. So he's anticipating that, and he was right up on the line of scrimmage to meet it.
2nd and 15. Riders back at the 30. Austin under the cover. On target for Everett. He stopped short of the first down, but he made a good effort to get more than halfway there. 9 yards. The gain. Zach Allen in on the tackle.
Yeah, but that's solid defense by BC, recognizing the down and distance. 2nd and 15. Hey, let's force Austin to throw it underneath. Let's make sure he can't throw anything over the top. Make him go to Everett short, and we're going to come up and make the tackle and force them to punt. That's just solid defense, knowing what the down and distance is and playing the right defense to suit it.
Rough Riders lead it by 1 at 27-26. Running a little time off the clock as they face the wind. Manage taking it right down to the final second before getting this punt away. High into the breeze. And it rolls to Lonnie Turner at the 40-yard line. He steps out near the 45. Chased by Dan Rasevich.
Easy bench by Dan Rasevich, number 74.
But you know, we talked about Doug Hocking and what a great hit he made on Errol Brown on a punt cover. That time with the short kick, Doug Hocking saw Manage take off, and you know he was going to come down and make an attempt to try and maybe recover his own punt. But Hocking, being so alert on special teams, just drilled Manage and said, "Hey, you're not going any further."
McManus and the Lions are 1st and 10 at the 41. To his right. Wide open. Darren Flutie. He turns and gets away from one tackle. And he was tripped up by Maurice Crum, number 99. Good move by Flutie, and he almost sprung it for substantial extra yardage.
Well, he did a lot of running, but he didn't pick up a great deal of yardage. But you think Danny McManus has a strong arm? That's a dart out to Flutie on the wide side.
14-yard gain for Flutie. Lions now at the Saskatchewan 50. This is John Volpe trying the right side, and he's upended. Crum was there, and so was Ray Bernard. The gain is 3. 1:21 to go till three-quarter time. With the Riders in front by a point.
You know, it's interesting what a game dictates. For the most part, the BC Lions slotbacks have had all the receiving yardage. But tonight is one of those nights where, you know, they haven't had a great deal of production, and it's been Ray Alexander and Darren Flutie. And, you know, it's good that McManus recognizes who's the hot receiver and keeps going to them.
This passing situation, Middleton in for Crum. Here's Volpe. That's the first down. And there's yards to spare. Volpe down to the 21-yard line, and Barry Wilburn forced him out after a gain of 26. Volpe has been pretty effective as a receiver in the second half.
Coverage breakdown by the Rough Riders. They just turned Volpe loose on the blitz. You saw Mike Middleton, 20 coming, and nobody was out to pick up John Volpe. And well, you have to be so impressed with Danny McManus and how well he has read coverages tonight and been able to throw to the right spots. Volpe, 4 catches, 51 yards. Used him nicely.
Now at the 23. First down, BC. McManus has a man, and Turner couldn't make the catch. Pass a little low on Lonnie Turner in front of Carlton Lance, number 9, and he's shaken up on the goal line.
And you know that's a matchup that the BC Lions were thinking about when they bring Turner in for Volpe. They got the matchup on Carlton Lance, and I think that's a favorable one for the BC Lions. Turner was open, but McManus couldn't get him the ball.
Turner to the sidelines. Volpe is back in for 2nd and 10. Alexander can't make the catch. Tight coverage by Barry Wilburn, who really took it away from Alexander. He had the perfect angle.
You know, Alexander's 6'4", but Barry Wilburn is 6'3", so it's not a mismatch when he comes up and plays in the bump and run coverage. And watch now, he just stays right on the inside hip, and he knows he's tall enough that he can go up and fight Alexander for the football. Now, the ball was underthrown, but, you know, you talk about positioning for a defensive back. Saw a perfect example of how to do it there by Barry Wilburn. Well, he's a rookie there, you see, age 29, yeah, but let me tell you.
Not exactly raw, is he?
No, he had some great years with the Washington Redskins. I already told you, with a Super Bowl in 1987, but, you know, he had some problems and has come up to play with Saskatchewan, came in with the rookies early, worked hard in his game to learn the Canadian game, and, you know, his coach simply says he's the best corner in the league right now. Now, I think, you know, you get some arguments on that one, but the fact is he's a darn good corner.
Carlton Lance shaken up on the previous play and then on the last play as well. So he was hurt on 2 plays in succession. He'll be off to the sidelines to try and get it all back together. Meantime, Lou Pasaglia stands in for a 28-yard field goal, maybe 28 and a half. Spotted by Darren Flutie. Lou is up, and Lou is good, as the BC Lions move out in front of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. 29-27. Pasaglia good on 2 in a row, and the Lions have reestablished a narrow lead at Taylor Field, Regina. Time of possession, a real key for the BC Lions in the 3rd quarter. They outscored the Saskatchewan Roughriders 13-3 to take the lead at 29-27. Ready now to begin the 4th quarter at Taylor Field. And the Roughriders are first down at the Saskatchewan 35 after Lou Pasaglia's last field goal.
And John, they've come out in this formation with 4 people in the backfield. Now, they've run from this formation most of the time, but you have to think with the win, it's going to go upstairs.
Austin with time. Elgard. What a move, Elgard over Andre Francis. The tackle was made by Zach Allen. 17 yards for Ray Elgard. Nifty little maneuver here.
Wow, you know, as Elgard catches this pass, now he's got it here. Here comes Francis here. Now, Elgard knows, hey, I'm a big guy. He's a little guy. He's going to go low on me. So what do? I'm Ronaldo Nehemiah all of a sudden, the high hurdler, and he goes for an extra few.
Second first down for the Roughriders in the second half. Shotgun for Austin on first down to his left. He's hit as he fired. Elgard was the intended receiver, and Austin was forced to throw off balance.
I think he took a pretty good shot from 72, Glenn Scribner. He was really exposed as he was throwing, rolling to his left, which is the most vulnerable side. Well, in fact, I think it was number 56, James West. You'll see there, he comes to the top. Scribner was right there too, but it was West that plants it right in the rib cage of Ken Austin. And, you know, those will take their toll over a period of time. If he's rolling out again, he'll be thinking about where West is.
Austin has been bothered by a shoulder injury this year. He seems okay here. Shotgun, 2nd and 10. Blaze Bryant gets across midfield, short of the first down. And the Roughriders will have to kick it away.
And I think the BC Lion defense has just done a great job trying to confuse Kent Austin. They're playing man-to-man on first down, and then, of course, when they get Austin in the 2nd and long, they're dropping everybody deep and forcing Austin to go underneath and relying on the good tackles to force Saskatchewan to give the ball up punting. But I think Kent Austin, you'll see, you know, Dave Ritchie said, if we can frustrate him, boy, is that ever to our advantage.
Third down for the Roughriders. Lonnie Turner deep for BC. Early in the 4th quarter. The Lions lead by 2. This is Turner. He lost it at the 10. Retreats to the 5. He lost 5 on the return. And leading the Saskatchewan tacklers, Mike Middleton. He's quietly having a pretty good game.
A couple of key
developments in this game, gentlemen. First of all, over my shoulder, the knee of Kent Austin is being checked on the Saskatchewan bench. The initial indication is that he will return. At halftime, the BC Lions called the weather office here in Regina and were told that the wind would die down a bit in the fourth quarter, which it has, which makes their decision to take the wind in the third look even better.
It was an old Huey Campbell trick, wasn't it? With the Eskimos in their great days, he had a pipeline to the weather office.
Well, I think most teams do it, John, but you know what, a smart move. They wanted to try and get some momentum back, and it's a good call.
Good fake to Volpe. Clark can't make the catch, but does Darren Flutie on the sideline. It goes through Clark's hands. And to Darren Flutie, but I guess he didn't quite hang on. Let's have another peek here. Watch.
That's a ball that should have been caught. You know, as Matt Clark turns, he sees the hit coming from Charles Anthony, and you know, maybe couldn't focus on the football as he should have. But you know, when you're backed up in your own end and you're in a one-point ball game, you got to come up and make the big plays.
Second and 10, Lions at the 5. McManus in some trouble over the middle. Clark made the catch. Let's see where they spot the ball. Tight coverage by the Roughriders again. Mike Middleton. A 7-yard gain, and that won't be enough.
Well, what happens to a guy like Matt Clark, he's running the hook pattern, but you're going to see the pressure on Danny McManus come. Now, once he's flushed out of the pocket, Clark, he's been taught to keep working back to the quarterback, and when he does that, he just takes himself out of first down range. Now, that's not his fault, but that's just a result of the play taking too long to develop.
Lou Pasaglia standing on his goal line. Into the breeze, and it has died down substantially here in the fourth quarter. Big charge. Pasaglia got it away. Rolling to Errol Brown near the 45. He draws a flag. Surrounded by BC Lions. A 30-yard punt. No return, and Donovan Wright was the first Lion in the area. We'll check out the infraction when we return to Taylor Field and the CFL Live.
Crown Real Estate.
Gerald Bayless having another outstanding night for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. The same was said of him last week, so we asked Gerald Bayless to assess his own performance on the field.
If we call your seat number, you
Oh man, you don't want to ask that question, you know, because week in, week out, you know, I never see myself as having a good game, you know, and I guess, you know, when I have reached that ultimate goal of the game that I think that is a great game for myself, and I think it's time to retire for myself, you know. So I don't see myself having a good week, whatever the situation may be, or that, you know, I'm real critical about my own play, you know, and I'm my worst critic, I guess.
A lot of people like the way he plays football. Gerald Bayless, 9 sacks, 42 tackles, and 3 fumble recoveries coming into this one tonight. He has made a terrific difference to the Saskatchewan defense.
Well, he really has, and I think one statistic that really tells the tale of Bayless is he has 12 tackles for losses this year, which leads the league. We talked about that earlier in the game, and it's a tribute to how quickly he gets upfield. And, you know, when you get tackles that can pressure the quarterback with that good push upfield, it just makes it so much easier for your buddy beside you, a guy like Bobby Jurison.
Penalty was against the BC Lions. No yards on the kick return.
First and 10, Saskatchewan from 36.
So that sets up Ken Austin at the 36-yard line from the shotgun. Big charge on Austin. He got it away to Blaze Bryant. Well read by O.J. Brigance, number 57. Brigance has come up with a couple of big tackles tonight. A 4-yard loss there.
It's been fun to watch the progress of O.J. Brigance year after year. Now, of course, he's tied with the sack lead with Tim Cofield, 15. But, you know, in his 3 seasons, I remember him as a rookie from Rice. Bob Abilovich went with him, and he has just blossomed year after year.
Second and 14. Austin to the far side. Everett, number 7, was the receiver over there, and Austin not happy about it.
Well, it goes back to the story of this game. 2 plays that Albert Brown touchdown on a missed field goal, and Carlton Lance interception for a touchdown. And boy, that is the main reason why Saskatchewan has the lead, because for the most part, the BC Lions have done a nice job on Ken Austin and his offense. Make that 29-27.
BC and Ridgway looks to put the Riders back in front. Ridgway is wide. Single point surrendered. A 1-point game now. 29-28. BC leading Saskatchewan. 10:38 to play in the 4th quarter, and it's been a fine football evening at Taylor Field in Regina. Lions into a 10-0 lead. The Riders came back, scored 17 points at one stage to take the lead at halftime.
BC's ball, it's 1st and 10 at the 40.
BC then marched in the 3rd quarter for a long touchdown to get right back into the game. Pasaglia and Ridgway have had a kicker's duel since then. Now 1st and 10. Lions beginning at the 35. Sean Millington breaks one, and he'll have a first down. Millington out to the 50-yard line. Middleton made the tackle. The gain is 10. And McManus having a fine evening for the BC Lions in relief of Danny Barrett, who's down with the flu.
He's been able to get up over 50% in the passing mark at 283 yards. And when you just find out moments before the game's beginning that you're going to be the starter, I think he's done a fantastic job.
Good fake by McManus, first down. Sideline pattern, far side of the field, and Ray Alexander has another big first down for the Lions.
Ray Alexander.
And that is a great throw to get it into Alexander. The play action freezes everybody, and to fake the Volpe, there you see. Now the linebackers are frozen. The only person he has to get it over is number 24, Vincent Donaldson, who's in the short zone coverage, and there he is right there. But you see the tremendous strength on the arm of Danny McManus. Now remember, he's still throwing into that wind. That's an unbelievable throw.
Yeah, Ray's back, 18 yards on that. His 6th catch of the night. Volpe wrestled down in the backfield.
Yeah, guess who?
Gerald Bayless.
Yeah, he's always in the backfield. This is unbelievable. This is the 2nd time now he's been able to come down the line of scrimmage in behind the guard and tackle Volpe from behind. Wow, he just fights off the blocks, and he's having himself a whale of a game. Now, if he's his own worst critic, at some point he's got to lighten up and say, hey, Gerald, you're doing a pretty good job.
Here are a couple of amazing numbers for a running back. John Volpe has 14 carries for a net 13 yards. So the Rider defense has been solid against the run. 2nd down. McManus, sideline pattern, and he has his man far side. Ray Alexander again. Alexander's 7th catch.
The 26th, first down.
And this, what you have to do against the bump and run is get up over the top of the defensive back as quickly as you can. There he is. He really didn't get over the top of him, but a subtle push with the left arm allowed Alexander to get to the outside. And when the ball is there that quickly, there's really no chance for Wilburn to break it up. 7 catches, 141 yards for Ray Alexander in his return to the lineup tonight.
Yeah, and he picked up 17 in the previous play to set the Lions up at the 25. McManus goes for the home run, toss, touchdown! Trevathan has his 2nd touchdown reception of the night. This time, 26 yards. And McManus opened the ball game with a 44-yard touchdown strike to Mike Trevathan.
What a job, the bootleg and to the wide side of the field, throwing back across the grain. This is a great catch. You have to worry about the goalposts. It actually goes through the post. And
yeah, nice toss.
Trevathan, 2nd touchdown of the night, 11th on the year.
Pasaglia adds to the BC lead. And the Lions move a little more comfortably in front of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. There's a long way to go at Taylor Field, Regina. And don't forget, Kent Austin is the Roughrider quarterback. Tough to beat McManus on a toss like that, however.
Let's go back and have a look at Mike Trevathan's second touchdown. The key is to fake the Volpe right here. You'll see what happens to Glenn Suter, the middle safety. He sees that and comes up. Trevathan, a little move out there, gets underneath position on Vincent Donaldson, and that's all it takes. You'll see Suter vacates the middle on the play fake, and boom, Trevathan's home free with that little move at the line of scrimmage. He gained the separation, and he had enough speed to keep that separation from Donaldson, and boy, that's his second touchdown, a beauty.
Nifty little scoring drive, 70 yards in 5 plays, in a time of 2:38. Now the BC kickoff, bobbled momentarily by Earl Brown. He turned it into a nice return, though, up near the 45, where he was met by Spencer McClellan. Lions lead the Saskatchewan Roughriders 36-28. It's been a seesaw game at Taylor Field in Regina. BC had a 10-point lead. The Riders then led at halftime after scoring 17 points in a row. And in the second half, the Lions have controlled Saskatchewan. On first down, it's fumbled and picked up by the BC Lions. This is O.J. Brigance. He is inside the 15. And the tackle was made by Trey Everett. A 27-yard fumble return by O.J. Brigance. Some kind of night he's having.
And O.J. Brigance reads it perfectly. A missed handoff. There it is, lying waiting for him. And as he scoops it up, he off and running. They're trying to run a trap with Jeff Fairholm in the backfield, but he just never was able to get the handle on it. There you see it right there. And as he has it, the ball just squirts loose, and Brigance right there. So the ebb and flow of this game has really been interesting tonight. Saskatchewan took control in the second, and now here late, the BC Lions have everything going their way.
Big sequence for the Rough Rider defense here. First down, and Volpe got the call. As the Lions began deep inside Saskatchewan territory.
Interesting storylines of this game. Danny McManus, the second-string quarterback, with a super night. Pasaglia, 5 for 6 in the time of possession, clearly in favor of the BC Lions. Now, that wasn't much of a factor early in the game, but late now, it's really beginning to tell a serious story.
2nd and 6. Lions at the Saskatchewan 9. McManus neatly covered by Albert Brown. Alexander was the intended receiver, and that's a big play for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Right cornerback Albert Brown.
Boy, you're so right, John. You know, they turn over Brigance with the fumble recovery. Now, you know, it puts so much pressure on a defense to try and keep that team out of the end zone, but Albert Brown with the key knockdown there, and he's had about 3 solid knockdowns tonight.
Lou Pasaglia, a good night, 5 of 6. This one a chip shot from 16 yards out. High snap. Pasaglia got it away. There are markers all over the field.
Yeah, Darren Flutie did a nice job to get that down, and Pasaglia took an awful shot as he kicked that field goal, but Darren Flutie, a super job to keep the ball on the tee. Now, if there's a roughing penalty or anything, you know, this would be an automatic first down.
Too many men, I think, Leaf, by the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Yeah, they're calling roughing on the kicker as well as too many men. You can lip read Bud Steen there, so that's going to be an automatic first down for the BC Lions, and what a break that is. So penalties that killed the Lions early are now working in their favor. That's Charles Anthony, number 8, that took a pretty, well, you know, there's a fine line between, are you trying to block the kick, or are you trying to block the kicker right out? And I kind of think that was a shot on the kicker.
So 2 penalties against the Roughriders. Too many men. And then roughing the kicker. So the BC Lions get 3 cracks at it. From the 3. Volpe. Touchdown, John Volpe. He's got 2 on the night. A 3-yard touchdown for John Volpe.
Yeah, they call that a search play. They hand off to Volpe deep in the backfield, and they let him pick his hole, and he picked the right one as the BC Lions take advantage of the penalty and get the touchdown. Well, you're going to get a great look at it here. Now, his eyes are looking upfield, just trying to find that open crack, and there it is in the right side of Leo Groenwagen, the right guard in between Jim Mills and Groenwagen. And the BC Lions get the touchdown. So they take advantage of the Bergant's turnover. And they have done, boy, what a job they have done here in the 4th quarter.
Actually, the second half, too, Leaf, as far as looking at the Lions putting numbers on the board. A big march into the win to begin the 3rd quarter. Got the BC Lions back into the game. Busaglia has kicked well, and the Lions are now in control. Back-to-back touchdowns, 43-28. BC leading Saskatchewan. It didn't look good for Dave Ritchie at halftime, down 24-16 to the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Well, I think it was interesting. Gord Miller said that Ritchie told his players, this is like a playoff game, and you better come out and play that way in the second half. Well, they have certainly responded. They've outscored Saskatchewan 27-4 here in the second half to take this lead. And for Don Matthews, I mean, everything was going his way at halftime, and his team has just not performed up to par. You know, offensively, you look at that first half for Saskatchewan, they really didn't do a whole lot other than that one drive on the Boyko touchdown. So maybe it's not surprising that they're not generating a great deal of offense in the second half.
Yeah, there was the interception return for the touchdown. Errol Brown out across the 52, and also the Albert Brown 104-yard or 108-yard return on a wide field goal.
Well, as we look at the scoring drive, 4 plays, 13 yards. They take advantage of a penalty and a turnover to get the Volpe touchdown. You know, you look at the BC Lions season, 8-5 coming into tonight. They really hadn't had a critical point in their 1993 season until tonight. This was critical, and they have responded nicely.
Critical now for Ken Austin and the Roughriders. Bryant makes the catch, and he's close to a first down. Well, he's within 1.5 yards anyway. Good move after making the catch. Blaze Bryant in his first game as a Rough Rider. Gord?
Well, John, the rallying cry on the BC side of the field has been, let's not come back here in November. At least a dozen Lion players said, let's play the playoff game at our house.
You know, I want to make a comment to that right after this play.
Good fake by Austin to Bryant, and then he fires to Bryant. That'll be a Saskatchewan first down.
You know, going back to Gord Miller's comments, the rallying cry, let's not come back for a playoff game here. You know, as you see Ken Austin there, I'm not so sure he wouldn't mind going to play a playoff game in BC Place. You know, at this time of the year, the weather and everything, with his passing game might almost be to his advantage to be indoors. So, sort of a double-edged sword.
Well, now Austin didn't say that, and he likely won't.
No, he didn't say that.
Intercepted here, and Austin has been intercepted 3 times now. Andre Francis will go all the way for the touchdown. 2 interceptions for touchdowns by the BC Lions, and it's almost over for the Saskatchewan Roughriders at Taylor Field tonight. Carlton Lance. And a touchdown. And now the BC Lions answer with one of their own.
And Andre Francis, they're frustrating Kent Austin, playing his own coverage. Austin has to go underneath, and he just simply doesn't see Andre Francis, who has his league-leading 6th interception. And what a big one it is for a touchdown, and maybe puts this game out of reach.
4:07 to play at Taylor Field in Regina. And what looked promising for the Roughriders at halftime has turned into a disaster in the second half.
Go back and have one more look at Andre Francis' touchdown and try and show you how the zone defense works. Sometimes it's such an illusion that receivers are open, but Here's Andre Francis down in the corner here now. As Trey Everett goes by him up here, Francis just stays here. Here's Elgard in here. He's going to run a little pivot, pirouette back to the outside, but Francis then is just right there to step in front. But, you know, that's the zone. You know, maybe Austin's thinking, well, Francis is going to run with the wide receiver, but he stays right there, and here he is right now. He sees Austin's eyes, the ball coming, and he just breaks right through and makes the easy interception. But that's the illusion of that zone defense. It looks as though receivers are open, but boy, those seams and holes can close down in a hurry.
2 interception returns for touchdowns, 1 each way. First half, it belonged to Carlton Lance of Saskatchewan. Second half to Andre Francis, back in the BC lineup this week. Ken Austin has thrown 3 interceptions.
Well, it shows how crucial this game really is. BC Saskatchewan tied, and more importantly than grabbing second place is the fact that they win whoever wins this game wins the season series, and that means if there is a tie down the road, you know, that team would get the advantage or home field advantage.
Yeah, the winner tonight earns the edge in all tie-breaking procedures. So this is going to be a big night for the British Columbia Lions, who are out in front 50-28 now. Warren Jones warming up for Ken Austin, who's been off a little bit tonight. Everett. And there's a penalty marker down as Everett returns it to the Saskatchewan 50. 3:54 remaining in the fourth quarter.
Warren Jones has not had a great deal of playing time this year. He's only thrown 9 passes, been able to complete 6 of them. Really no statistics on his part, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Those are the very small numbers of Warren Jones. He's kind of like the Steve Taylor in Calgary behind Doug Flutie. These guys are not going to get a lot of playing time.
An illegal block and a 10-yard penalty assessed. Riders at the 32. Jones fumbled out of the shotgun, and the Lions have another turnover. So it was Derek McCready coming up with the ball.
79, Derek McCready.
And a tough night for Don Matthews and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. After a great week.
Saskatchewan 28-yard line.
And a 31-16 win over the Lions in BC last Sunday.
Coming in cold off the bench, Jones can't handle the snap from the shotgun, and McCready with the recovery. But you know, you look at Dave Ritchie and his team that will now move to 9-5 on the season. You know, you get the points throughout the year, and you really wonder how good your team is. And boy, have they responded in fine fashion tonight.
Sean Millington on first down, BC.
Carriers 25, Sean Millington.
Gerald Bayless was there, number 98.
98, Gerald Bayless.
But for the BC Lions and their season, I mean, it would have been disastrous to come in here and lose 2 in a row to the same team and maybe really see second place go out the window for the entire season. Sure, they got 4 games left, but I think it would have been a devastating blow to them. But tonight they have responded. I think Dave Ritchie's has to be extremely proud of his team.
Down at halftime, the Lions have bounced back nicely. Here's McManus far side. He's on target for Darren Flutie, number 82. He steps out of bounds near the 20-yard line, covered by Barry Wilburn. And there is a 3-minute warning on the field at Taylor Field with the BC Lions in control, leading the Saskatchewan Roughriders 50-28. Last week, the BC Lions offensive line had an off week, according to Dave Ritchie. They didn't play very well. They have turned things around this week and given their quarterback, Danny McManus, a pretty nice outing. 21 of 38, 352 yards. Danny McManus in relief of Danny Barrett, who's down with the flu.
Yeah, and although the Saskatchewan front fours had some pressure at times against McManus, I don't think they've had a sack tonight, and well, that's a pretty good recovery from an offensive line.
Gave up 5 last week. Yep. The Lions did.
So they've come in and they have focused on their job, and this is, well, you just don't realize how impressive a win this is. When you're on the back end of a doubleheader and you've lost the first one going into someone else's park, this is a pretty impressive victory.
John Volpe, not much running room off the right side. The Lions have outscored the Roughriders 34-4 here in the second half. And these two teams were a little angry at each other after last week's game. And what is Richie doing out on the field?
Well, I don't think you better go too far. The flag's going to come out of the pocket in a hurry.
Well, there's an injured player down there. John Volpe, who's had a tough season with injuries, is shaken up again.
Not that this has been a chippy game by any stretch, because it really hasn't, but it's kind of interesting to note there has been some bad blood between these two teams. And before the game, Barry Wilburn from Saskatchewan and Tyrone Jones actually threw some punches at each other, and you know, they were separated, but there has been some bad blood between these two teams. Always seems to escalate when you play a team 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, there were some stories making the rounds about Lions general manager Eric Tillman being berated by Don Matthews of the Saskatchewan Roughriders following the game last week, as Volpe is being attended to now on the field at Taylor Field. We might be able to see what happens here.
Well, it's tough. There's 2:18 remaining, and John Volpe, tough to see what happens. But you know, in the 2 games that he has played, in both games he has not made it through a game with injury, and he was 2:18 away from making it through his first game this year, complete game.
And he's not going to finish this one tonight, but there is no concern as far as the Lions about the score and the outcome of this at 50-28 right now. First and 10, BC. John Millington. And he ran into Gary Lewis. On a night 30 years ago this week, Leaf, BC's Neil Beaumont intercepted a Ron Lancaster pass and returned it 120 yards for the longest interception return for a touchdown in CFL history. It might have been a night something like this as far as the Saskatchewan Roughriders were concerned.
Yeah, kind of. You remember that game well, do you?
Well, no, I just saw that today in the notes.
Oh, I thought maybe you'd been at the game.
No, I wasn't at that one. Minute 37 to play. McManus has done a good job for the Lions and continues. Ray Alexander makes the catch inside the 10 at about the 7-yard line.
John, what impresses me most about Danny McManus is he doesn't get a lot of reps during the week. Danny Barrett would take most of them as the starting quarterback, but McManus's timing has been just flawless tonight, and as he has thrown those out passes to Alexander, you know, he has let that ball go before Alexander's made his break most of the time, and I'm just so happy for McManus at how well he has functioned.
Millington for a couple as the Lions run down the clock on the Saskatchewan Roughriders. It's 50-28 as it stands right now. Ray Alexander back in the lineup for the BC Lions, and he has had a wonderful evening. 8 receptions for 148 yards.
Yeah, of course, you know, he missed 2 games, and what a factor he has been for BC since he made his return tonight. I think you have to look at Andre Francis, corner, who has an interception for a touchdown tonight. He also didn't play last week, so 2 players, starters, back in the lineup making huge contributions.
And all 4 BC Lion receivers are now over 800 yards. That's Flutie, Trevathan, Millington carrying the ball there.
Carriers 25, Sean Millington.
And he stopped at the 1. Millington stopped there. Trevathan, Clark, Alexander, and Flutie all over 800 yards as a result of their efforts tonight. Third and goal to go. Lions are at the Saskatchewan 1 with 1:05 to go.
This decision by the Lions to go for it on 3rd and goal from the 1 with a 50-28 lead is not exactly going over well on the Saskatchewan sidelines.
No, I don't think Don Matthews would be happy about this 1st or 3rd and goal drive. Well, I think the Saskatchewan defense made a statement right there. The game might have been lost, but they weren't about to let insult be added to injury.
Carriers 25, Millington stopped by Sulis.
I'll be honest, I don't think it's rubbing it in. You know, you got 3rd and 1. You know, if you
what are you gonna do?
attempt a field goal, and if it's ever blocked, you give an easy touchdown. I think, hey, 50-28, this game has such an important tag to it that I think you do everything to just ensure that the victory remains on your side, and I really don't fault Richie for going for it there at all.
BC Lions with 4 games to go after this against Sacramento, Hamilton, Edmonton, and Sacramento in that order. Saskatchewan Roughriders play at Calgary, home to Hamilton, home to Calgary, and then at Toronto to wrap up this season.
Carriers 21 lead Bryant.
Gain of a yard on that play, 42 seconds on the clock. BC receivers I was talking about, Darren Flutie not quite over 800, but he'll close in on that rather quickly. Alexander with a great night this night, closing in on 1,000 yards.
Yeah, I'd say 3 of those guys have a good shot with 4 games remaining to be over 1,000 yards, and that would be a nice accomplishment.
Boyko made the catch on a short toss from Jones. I don't know about that play. I guess we'll just let it carry on and let the clock tick down. 16 seconds to go.
I think Warren might have been able to run it a little farther than dumping it off to Boyko, but Warnock had his choice. Chasing Jones, and he ends up with Boyko. He could have had either one.
Manage is in. Lions have outscored the Roughriders 34-4 in the second half. Now Manage comes to the sidelines into the final 6 seconds of this football game. And Richie is still worried down there. About what? I don't know. Should be the last play of the game. Blaze Bryant. And now a fight erupts down near the 20-yard line. Fairholm is involved, and Tom Europe. A little testy at Taylor Field tonight. The BC Lions full value for a come-from-behind victory over the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Well, you get a look at Dave Ritchie coming across the handshake with Don Matthews, and he has to be thrilled with the way his team has responded. You know, this was a tough assignment coming into Taylor Field, tough place to win, and the BC Lions, who had been 3-3 on their road games this year, now move above the 500 mark, and Danny McManus, what a star performance he gave for them.
Yeah, McManus turns in a great night. 21 of 38, 352 yards, a couple of touchdowns, and he wins it big time for the BC Lions. Here's Gord Miller.
All right, thanks very much, John. With Dave Ritchie, we understand you told your team at halftime that this was like a playoff game for your club. How big is this win?
I think it's a great win for us to come in here, just as it was for them to come in our place and beat us at our place. Shows that we can play in the weather, and if wherever we have to go to play a playoff game, we'll go.
Now, just before this game, you find out that Danny Barrett can't play because of the flu, and Danny McManus really stepped up for you.
He sure did. Danny Barrett was very sick, and half our team was sick. Somehow or other, we got all this flu business, and they all stood tall tonight. I mean, they fought back. We gave up a couple long things, that field goal return, and an interception for a touchdown, and then I guess we got one for a touchdown too. So, you know, as someone once said, it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
What's the status of John Volpe? I guess, you know, you see him get hurt late in the game, and that's got to make you win.
I told him it was. I thought he'd get through this game, but I think he hurt his neck, got his bells rung a little bit. He should be okay. He'll come back.
All right, Dave, congratulations on a great win. Go and get warm.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
BC Lions with a big victory over the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and we'll be back with more on the CFL Live in just a moment from Taylor Field.